Hello, this is Kevin Partner from indieauthorplatform.com, and I'm just about to do something in MailerLite that I thought you might be interested to follow along with. I haven't tried this before, so I'm just going to record it as I go. And I'll warn you now, it's quite late and I've had my evening beer, so this may be a disaster. But let's hope not. What I'm planning to do is I'm currently wrestling with the decision about whether to put my series into KDP Select. And one of the factors that I'm interested, one of the elements in that decision is going to be how many of my subscribers are in KDP Select. Now, obviously I need to ask them. One way to do that would be to create a Google form and simply direct them to that and formulate the responses, from which I would get an indication of the numbers, so I get the proportion of one to the other. But what I actually want to be able to do is not only find out what proportion are in KDP Select, but actually who is in KDP Select and who is not. In other words, I want to be able to tag my subscribers so that if they tell me they're in KDP Select, I know that for the longer term. And what I'm going to do is use link triggers in MailerLite to achieve that. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of buttons into, that's the dog coming in, I'm going to put a couple of buttons into my next campaign email and ask people to tell me to click button 1 if they are in KDP Select and button 2 if they're not. And then I'm going to use an automation to add a custom field or to a value to a custom field to say whether they are or not. Now clearly I'm only going to get a certain percentage of people respond to this at all, a relatively low percentage I would imagine, but first of all that will help me at least get some clue as to the numbers that are, and secondly those that say yes are going to be people I'm going to be perhaps more interested in adding to my ARC team, because I know they're going to be able to get my book for nothing, and therefore they're avid readers and they're more likely perhaps to read the book for free on Kindle Unlimited once it's released, even though they've had an ARC copy because it costs them nothing. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a custom field to store this information in. It doesn't matter, these are my groups, it doesn't matter which one I'm going to just go into websites temp, which is where I send people when they sign up on my website, so that I can add a tag to the custom field that indicates they've come from my website before they're then moved into the main fiction group. But if we go into that group, click in the right place, and then click on custom fields, add custom field, and I'm just going to call it KDP_select. Add new field. And that's now down here amongst all the other custom fields. Now I'm going to go into my campaigns, into my drafts. I've already, to save you watching me create a campaign, I've already half done it. So I'm going to go into my campaign. And here it is. This is for the latest SFF Mega Promo. So there's one button to encourage them to go and look at that website, and down here is where I'm offering them a $20 Amazon voucher for just clicking the buttons I'm about to create. So what I'm going to do is just drag a button down to here, click on it. Now then, what I've done is on my website the link needs to go somewhere. And on my website I've created 2 pages. I've got a thank you for your response page and an identical page that just has a slightly different URL so that I can track which is which. Okay, so thank you, the first thank you response page is going to be when they say yes, and the other one is going to be when they say no. So the URL for the first button is that one, and that goes in there. I'll give it a title. And then we click add one more button. For that one, the URL is that. So on button 2, I'm going to put that URL in. Oh, no, that's what comes, isn't it? That is what comes of having a beer before you do it. They don't know it's KDP Select. That was close. Oh, actually, they don't look very neat, do they now? So what I'm going to do actually is delete that one and just make a second button so they're beneath each other. Just going to change the colour. What should we go for? Something. Choose that. I want the same colour for both so that I don't use, so colour isn't used to suggest to them which answer they should go for. They have to actually read the text. So that's that. We've got one button that sends them to the first thank you page, and that's for yes, and the second one that sends them to the second thank you page. That's now done. You can save that. And obviously I would at that point go through and pick my which group it's going to, etc., and then set and get ready to send the campaign. Before I do that, however, I need to go into automations, create a new workflow, and this one is going to be called KDP Select Yes. This is going to be a temporary workflow that I'll delete. Sorry, that's going to have bounds. This will be a temporary workflow that I'll delete once after about a week. The trigger is when a subscriber clicks a link, and the link they're going to click, oops, is not that, is the first one. There you go. So this automation will now be triggered whenever anybody clicks on that link within an email. Okay, now we're going to add. Now, I always add a 1 minute delay after an automation has been triggered. I'm being overcautious because I'm sure it isn't a problem, but there have been occasions in the past where that has been an issue, where it's actually happened too fast and the whatever action you want to take hasn't happened because of it. So if the hold on, we don't want to do that, do we? Sorry. All we need to do at this point then is click Action, Update Custom Field, select KDP Select, and add Yes, and save. Turn that on. That's it. That one's now finished. You can duplicate that. Edit. Now on this one we want when they click the other one, just double checking that works. And this time we want to change the custom field to no. Obviously there'll be a third group of people whose custom field contains nothing, and they'll be the people that didn't click either button. So you can tell something about your audience even, you know, by whether they have yes or no in there, because you know that they are responsive. And I've forgotten how to rename these. I guess you do it. No, not like that. I do it in there. Okay, that's not the most intuitive way of doing it, is it? And turn the workflow on. Okay, so now we've got these two workflows set up. I can go back and send my campaign, and I'll then end up with people within the group who have the custom field set to yes or no, and that will tell me something about my readership, and that will genuinely help me make my decision as to whether I opt for KDP Select. Because frankly, if out of the people that answer a very small percentage are in Select, then there is really literally no point in me being. You might say that because my audience is largely gathered from Insta Freebie and book funnel promotions, that it's actually more about those sorts of people. But that's as maybe. That's what my audience is made up of, and my marketing is mainly to that group of people. So if the 2,000 something or other people that I can contact about my next fantasy release, only a few percent are on Select, it's almost certain that a far greater percentage would appreciate the option of buying it from Kobo or Apple or whatever, and I'd be therefore much more sensible to opt out of KDP Select. Okay, that's it. That should work. If I have posted this, then you'll know that it did work. Otherwise, this will never see the light of day. So I hope you enjoyed that and you find it useful.